Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Peggie Arvidson hosting the What the Heck is Hand Analysis and What Can It Do for Me call. I am thrilled to have you all here live, and those of you that I know are listening to the replay, I sure appreciate you coming by. This is going to be a little bit of a lecture, but as you warm up, if you start to feel comfortable and you want to ask your own questions, you can do that. There is a little box on what should be your little rectangular screen there that has a little button called Chat on it, and you can type in the chat, and you can choose where you type your message. There's a little pull down menu. You could choose to chat with just me, for the host, or to let your question go out there for all attendees. So I'll be monitoring that as well to make sure I'm answering questions that you may have if I don't address them. And the way that webinars tend to work is we usually have a little bit quieter crowd than when I do this live, but I want people wherever they are to be able to come and learn this information. So let's get into it. What the heck is hand analysis and what can it do for me? There's really no shock that you're here, I'm sure. You probably have had some curiosity, maybe have been hanging around the cyberspace, maybe following some of my posts on Facebook or other hand analysts, or you've just been interested in palmistry throughout your life, and now you want to get into understanding how does this fit in with my world? Is it really a practical tool? And we're going to hopefully answer all of your questions on this webinar tonight. So let's hit the button, if it'll let me do that, and go to the next slide. Okay. What we're going to learn tonight, the myths versus the reality. I don't know if there's that black thing on your screen, but it's on mine. Here we go. Myths versus the reality. There's a lot of myths out there about palmistry, and I want to break some of those down for you. We're going to talk about how it's not predictive. I can't predict your future. No fortune telling done with me. I have no idea what you're going to do with the information that I share during a reading or during any of these classes. As you learn to read your own hands, you're learning a roadmap, or as you have your hands read, what you're receiving is a roadmap. Where we're going to look at what paths might be the easiest ways for you to go and what paths may be the most difficult. But you are not in any way under any obligation to do anything as a result of your reading, although I certainly hope you'll make some choices that will help you live a little bit easier and have more fun. This science of hand analysis is replicable. I can teach you, or any certified hand analyst can teach you this system. It's like learning a new language. It takes time, it takes energy and dedication. Not everybody wants to do that, and that's perfectly fine. We don't you don't have to learn how to read hands in order to have your hands read. But that was one of the things that really intrigued me in the beginning, was that it could be taught, that other people could learn hand analysis. So I want to welcome you all for being here. I hope you can all hear me. As I mentioned, you can use the chat. Of course, if you can't hear me, you don't know you can use the chat to tell me that you can't hear me. But nonetheless, tonight, we'll also talk about the differences between free will and destiny. I'm going to talk a little bit on, the high level of how does this work in the first place. I'm going to go over what doesn't happen in a hand reading, what you can't expect to have happen, at least not with me, any of my colleagues. You'll learn my personal opinion and the opinion of my colleagues on whether or not there's anything good or bad in your hands. We're going to talk about what's in your hand, the basic things that you can expect from anybody reading your hands. It's more than just the lines. Everything in your hand has a story to tell. And we're also going to cover, I want you to know what's not in your hand, what you can't expect, what's just not going to happen for you in a reading. So I'm just excited to have you all be...
Kathy Z.
Oh, hi, Kathy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm excited to share all this information with all of you and get this information out there for you. Here's a little bit about my background. I start with that because people are usually coming in and, it's not the most exciting part, but people want to know, well, why you? Why should I have my hands read, or how do you know how to do this? Were you born reading hands? And so the short part of my story is that I had another business, and I had a wonderful marketing coach, and every time I did what she suggested, I made some more money and had more fun and hired better people in my company. And one time I said to her, I'm a little embarrassed because from the outside it looks like everything is going so well. All of the parts of my life look so tremendous according to everybody else, but I feel like there's something missing. I feel like there might be more to life. And she's like, well, you know what, Peggy? I'm a marketing coach, so that's not my thing, but you should get your hands read. And I was like, interesting. I was interested. I was a little skeptical, but I was interested. So what I did was I was ready to get in my car and drive to Georgetown in Washington, D.C., where I knew there were, palm readers. And she said, no, I have this lady in Tucson. Now, I live in the D.C. area, and I thought, oh, gosh, I got to go to Arizona. But I would have done it, right? That's how much faith I had in my marketing coach. And she said, no, give her a call. She'll explain it to you. She mails you an ink kit. And that was the beginning of my journey. I'm going to ask some of you if you all can just use the little mute button, which is on the left-hand side of your little monitor there that you're looking at for the screen, because I've got a little bit of background noise, and I don't want that in the recording for you all. But you can always unmute to ask questions. I will make that happen. So if you can do that, that's awesome. So I spoke to this woman, I had my hands read, and like all of these little light bulbs went off. It was kind of like, how you get those tingles and you're thinking, wow, somebody really saw me. There was a lot of validation for all that sort of inner angst, like something's missing, but it wasn't like, oh gosh, Peggy, you have to change your whole life. You got to sell everything. You got to move to Tibet. So I kept up with this woman who read my hands, and at some point, she told me, maybe 6 months later, I'm going to teach a certification class. She was certified through the International Institute of Hand Analysis, and was kind of encouraging me. If you're really curious and really skeptical, maybe this would be the right thing for you to do. And I kept saying, no, I have this other company. Why do I need to read hands? But I couldn't let the idea go. So at the last minute, I sent her some money, and I got on a plane, and I started my year-long journey. So I do have the certification as an IIHA certified hand analyst. And then over the last 10 years, I have been continuing my studies. I've studied with other teachers, and of course, reading on my own, and having read, I don't know, tens of thousands of hands by now, having conversations with each and every individual has continued my learning, right? When I say to you, this is what the textbook says, and this is how I'm interpreting this, but you get to tell me your story too. And that's really contributed a great deal to my knowledge and my ability to share this information. And I'm currently going through teacher training with the American Academy of Hand Analysis. So I will be teaching under their auspices, which is an affiliate, not an affiliate, but those teachers and that founder, Kay Packard, is taught by the International Institute. You can always learn more about me on my website and my Facebook page. I'm pretty much, what you see is what you get kind of gal. I mean, it's not like oversharing, because I learned that lesson from my hands. But at the end of this, you'll see some links and some information. And I just put a little picture down there. Sometimes people like to see who they're talking to, I think I like that picture because it was a great day. We were at my niece's christening, and it was probably one of the last really beautiful temperate days before the winter came in, and it was, that winter that we've all had. So that's a little bit about me, and I am excited to share this information with you. This is also me. This is the language that I speak, hand analysis. And these are my hands from last November. I usually will print my hands about every 6 months. I'm definitely due for another printing. But this is another way that if any of you on the line are hand analysts, I know it's not a very close-up picture, but you can probably figure out a few things about me just simply looking at the set of my fingers and the size of my thumb and what my heart lines and headlines and all of that look like. And hopefully you all will understand a little bit more about that as this evening progresses. I'm going to open it up a little bit if you want to unmute yourselves, if you want to use the chat box down below, ask any questions that you want to make sure I get to. Like I said, I love it to be an interactive call, so feel free to unmute if you've got a question, and I will happily write down those questions so I can answer them. Okay. I'm going to take it to mean you're all good. Got a quiet crowd. That's all right. The first question I hear most often is, but will you tell me anything bad? Oh, you got a question? Oops, I thought I saw somebody unmuting. I'm not going to call you out. I don't like to call people out by name. Well, if you do, anytime. I don't have a lot of ego in this. I'm okay with people interrupting and saying, hey, could you go back? You see, Chris is on the line, and she says now that she sees my hands, she gets a better idea of who I am. I love that. Yes, I'll bet you do. I'll bet you do. My colleagues find a lot of things about me in my hands. Yeah, exactly. So the first question I get is, are you going to tell me anything bad? You have no idea. It's funny, I was talking to a client last night, and she lives in the Great White North of Canada, and she reads, she does a different form of palmistry, and she loves reading hands, and she kind of does it as entertainment and fun, not necessarily as part of career coaching. I think she says people just love it. They get so excited when she tells them that she can, read their hands. And I thought, well, that's the difference, I guess, because living in Washington, D.C., people just, like they almost run the other way. Don't tell me anything bad. Sometimes I've been at networking events, and people hear that I can read hands, and it's amazing to see how quickly they try and hide their hands from me. But no, there is nothing bad in your hands. My personal philosophy has always been that everything is neutral. No matter how frustrating some of the things we go through in our life may be, it's our reaction. Reacting is usually what can cause us a lot of angst. And plus, we all have our own stuff. I call it our baggage, our stuff that we came into this life with and that we are living with. By the time you get to be 20, you've got a lot of history. And you may, I always use the example that if I say to you, hey, look, there's a bumblebee, first bumblebee of spring, you may say, oh my God, get that bug away from me, I hate them, I'm going to blow, I'm allergic and all this. Or you might say, oh my God, I love it. It's the first sign of spring. I'm so happy that bumblebees are coming back, right? I was simply giving you the information, and your reaction, it's a real simple, example, but your reaction is based upon your feelings, your history, your knowledge. And so that's exactly the way your hands work. But no, I don't know when you're going to die. I don't know if you're going to win the lottery. I don't know really your health history or anything like that, anything that's coming down the road. I don't know if you're going to get married or divorced. But we can look at things in your hands that tell us habits or kind of ways of showing up in the world that may have become ingrained. And in that process, we might say, hey, look, if you've always done this, you always get this result. And we might be able to see why you've always done this. And then you can deconstruct whether or not it's useful for you or not. If any of you have ever had a friend who continuously dated terrible people, like not necessarily evil, but, they kept dating the wrong person over and over and over again. They kept getting their heart broken over and over and over again. And every time they'd call you and say, oh, you got to come over and meet my new love. And you did, and you met the new love, and you thought, oh, my gosh, it's the same one in a different body. Were you being psychic or telling her something bad when you were like, I just don't have a good feeling about this? No, you were kind of just sensing a pattern. And that's what we can also see in your hands. Anybody have questions about that or stories about, you know, scary things? I've heard some awful palm mist stories in my life. Anybody? Okay. And if you are talking and I can't hear you and you can hear me, you can also feel free to type in the chat. I'm happy to answer, questions that way. Well then, the next logical question I get is, oh, well, what about my lifeline? Isn't my lifeline going to tell me how long I'm going to live? No, because I didn't even say this at the beginning, but I want to stress this now. Everything in your hand can change, except for your fingerprints. Your fingerprints are formed when you're in the womb, and they are going to be there with you until your last breath here on this planet. And everything else can change. Does that mean that if you look at your hands tonight and then you wake up tomorrow morning, all the lines are going to be different and your fingers are, going to be crooked or not crooked? No. When I say things can change in your hands, they don't change overnight. But I have seen lines get longer, lines get shorter, some kind of messiness clear up as the individual begins working with the energy, So your lifeline can change. Just like any other line. In fact, I do see lifelines quite often get longer and more grounded, a little deeper, because your lifeline to me will indicate the quality of your life, how grounded you are, how sound and set you are in your body and in the life you're living right now. For instance, if your life and the lines in your hands are all relative to one another, not relative to the other people that are around you. So maybe all of your lines just look really light, or you say, oh, but I can only see 3 lines on my hand, and on, Susie's hands over there, she's got lines all over the place. Is that bad? No, it just means that you're both hardwired differently. That's a sign for lots of different information, but none of it's bad and none of it's good. And so you may have a lifeline that is less or more long or deep than somebody else, but that doesn't mean you're going to live any longer or any shorter for that matter. So keep that in mind. I just had this little drawing, getting my creative juices flowing in the spring. So people always ask me about the marriage, fate, money, can you tell me all of this stuff from my hands? And no. But I want to stress again the fact that we can look for certain areas. When clients come to me, I ask them to really share with me what prompted them to come find me. Just like I found my hand analyst when I was thinking there's got to be more to life than this, and I want to know how can I live a more purposeful life. It was a pretty broad question, but what I was really asking about was why do I keep having, when she and I started talking, I was really asking about why do I keep having these same challenges in my relationships, and how can I feel more fulfilled in my business? What other things can I be doing? And we really dug in, or she did. I didn't know how to read hands then, and answered a lot of my questions and brought up a lot of the information that was in my hands, again, talking about the potential rather than the necessity or the fate. Okay? So the fate line, by the way, in the hands is what that's what old-time palmists called it. We generally will refer to it as the Saturn line. Saturn is your middle finger. It's the backbone of the hand, and there's a lot of concern for safety and security in that space. So I often look at a fate line if somebody says, I don't know why, I'm not making any money, or I can't seem to hold on to money. That's not the only place I look, but that is one of the places I look. It will help tell the story, and we can look back and say, well, if we're having some challenges here looking at these pieces of your hands, here's how we can possibly, clear some of that fog out and use some of these other strengths in your hands to heal what needs healing. It's a yin and a yang in a lifelong process. People ask me all the time, are you psychic? Do you have to be psychic? You must be highly psychic. You must talk to angels and whatever in order to do this work. The answer is, as I said in the very beginning, hand analysis is just like learning another language. If you have the desire and the interest and the dedication, you will learn to read hands. I personally believe that everyone on the planet is psychic or intuitive. I use those words often interchangeably. I have colleagues that will get really nitpicky and say, well, this is psychic and this is intuition. But to me, it's all being able to tap into the higher good. And whatever you want to call it, I think that's beautiful. I don't put a lot of stock in the lexicon. However, I do I found that by reading hands, learning the actual techniques and the data, and I was the only one in my class of 8 that just was certain. I had no intuition, and none of this stuff was, that was all hokey. I was a very linear thinker, very logical. I was, skeptical. That's why I was taking this class, because I wanted to see if you really could learn it. And I can remember at one point in my training, my teacher saying, while I've been telling everybody else to lay off, like, my intuition or I feel this when we were studying things, they were like, Peggy, you might benefit from, trying to tap into what you're feeling. So I am a testament to the fact that you can be a linear thinker and skeptic and still learn how to read hands. What I have been grateful for is that in this process, it's really opened me up to my expanded beliefs that everyone can tap into their intuition and use it. That's what we're using every day. And, you often hear the big, quote unquote, miraculous stories, of the people that, avoided, a life or death situation. And that certainly is a highlight of, intuition. But for me, it's a very practical everyday thing. I'm all about pragmatics and practical stuff. So the answer, that's a long answer, is I would certainly say yes, I'm psychic, but I wouldn't say that I'm being a psychic when I'm reading your hands. I highly depend on the data, and when I read someone's hands, if there is something that I feel compelled to share with you that is not in your hands, I will ask your permission if it's something you want to know. And if you don't, no worries. Like I said, nothing bad. I only work for the highest and the best good for you, for me, and for the planet. So that's just the way that I operate. Hopefully that answers that question. I often get asked, oh, well, you're talking about Jupiter because there's a finger called Jupiter. You're talking about Saturn, what have you. So are you saying that my hands are related to my astrology? Most of us in our Western culture are very familiar with astrology as a tool, whether, it's in the newspapers, it's in the magazines, whether you, quote unquote, believe in it, you may be entertained by it. It's a part of our lexicon, and I have yet to meet a person who does not know what their astrological sign is. Not that I ask everybody, but you ask somebody, when's your birthday? And they'll say, oh, well, I'm a Capricorn, or, oh, it's, I'm a Leo. They go there. And I think that's awesome. It's just in the same way that astrology is like a map or a weather vane, if you will, kind of the weather report, knowing what to do, what to bring with you. Your hands can give you that same sort of map and set of road signs. So no, I have found that some people who very much relate to and are tuned into and are really proud of or excited by the fact that their astrological sign is a fire sign, some of those people do have very fiery hands. But I have found people who know that they have a fire sign and they've been trying hard to be more grounded or a little more less, kinetic, and they may have very air hands or earthy hands. So it's not always definitely connected. And as far as the connection with numerology, I've not seen enough I don't have a deep enough knowledge of numerology. I'm not an astrologer either, by the way. It's a lot of math. To make the assessment one way or another. I don't know that if you're a numerologically your birth path is a 6, if that means that you're going to have really earthy hands or what have you. I'm a 6, and I don't even always know what that means. So I would be the wrong person for you to talk to about numerology, obviously. But I do know them. I do know numerologists. So I just like to answer that question because I get asked that almost every class. Are there other classes? Are there other questions that I should be answering before I continue to just roll on? Because I'm happy to answer. Okay, we are good. We are good to go. Okay, so going back to one of my handprints, my right hand, my dominant hand, you can take a look here, and this is what it would look like when you send me your prints. For instance, I would mail you an ink kit. You would mail it back. That's the how. And your print may look something like this, right? Well, we're going to see your fingers. We're going to see the palm of the hand. You may have, just like I have in this print, missing pieces, like where the fingers didn't really connect. It's all good. You may have this middle zone of your hand not showing up or part of your thumb. It's all good. But when I get these prints, the first thing I do is I observe them. They come in the mail to me, and I pull them out of the envelope, and I get so excited. And then I start translating your fingerprints. There's 4 primary types of fingerprints. Each of your fingers have a specific meaning. All 8 fingers and 2 thumbs have their own specific meaning, and I just go through and do the basic translation. It's just like translating a business memo from Russian to French. I just sit down and I do it. And then I walk away and I come back, and then I start looking for secondary things. The fingerprints are the fingerprints. Those are never going to change. And in your fingerprints is where we find your life purpose, your life lesson, and your life school. And this is useful because these are the core energies that drive you. But after that, I might sit down and take a look at your hand shape. What kind of hand do you have, and what does that mean? Right, before I reference the idea that, you might have a fiery hand. And a fiery-handed person might be somebody who would appreciate me speaking fast, which is sort of my normal clip. They might be okay with me going from one area of the hand to another area of the hand. Whereas someone with a more earthy hand might want me to really stick to 2 or 3 points. So I make note of that because this is your reading. And oftentimes people say, well, I really kind of want to talk about my career. I'm not so happy, or I'm approaching retirement, and I'd like to decide what I want to do with the rest of my life, to earn some money and to enjoy my life and to leave an impact. So they may have a general idea of what they want. But now that I've taken a look at your hands, I have an idea of how I'm going to pace our session together. I'm going to give you the information you need, hopefully in the pace and the language that you want it. And then I'll start looking for other pieces of your hands, things like secondary lines, like these would be in here, and things that we refer to as gift markings. And gift markings come along. It's as though you were playing a role-playing game. You're getting ready to come to Earth, and you've just decided you're going to be whatever, like a Dungeons and Dragons, type thing, and you've decided your quest that you want to go on in this lifetime, and you've decided what you want to learn and the impact you want to make. And then before you really jump into the quest, you kind of go to the tool chest and you pick out 3 or 4 specific gifts or tools that you want to bring with you to help you on your quest. And that's what the gift markings represent. When they show up in the hands, what you're telling me is what it is that you most have at your fingertips. No pun intended. You have at your fingertips in order for you to impact and live your purpose. It's a beautiful thing. There's, again, nothing good, nothing bad. There's no gift marking that's better than any other gift marking. There's no life purpose that's better than any other life purpose, or lesson that's better than any other lesson. It's all individualized to you. This is why I always say that hand analysis is the only assessment tool that you can't fudge. Right? You can't fill in this circle instead of that circle because you'd rather get the sales job instead of the desk job. No, you have the prints that you have, and you can do whatever you want with it. What we want to do is take the information and form it into a language that says, what's the easiest way for Peggy to get from point A to point B? What would be the simplest way, given the gifts that you have, given the challenges that you have, given the underlying desires that you have? What's the best way? It's not the only way. There's multiple ways to get wherever you want to go. But particularly when you're in trying times, you're like, I'm trying everything and I keep hitting my head against the wall. What do I do? It's a great opportunity for you to lean in to looking at your hands. I have had therapists and coaches tell me that having their clients' hands read, when their clients come to me, they almost cut out like 3 months of their work together, whatever the work may be, interestingly enough, because the client has new words or new understanding of why certain things keep happening, and they can bring that to their sessions with their coaches or with their therapist or whomever they're working with and say, this is why this keeps happening. This is the area I want to work in. And that's what I do when people work with me on their career coaching and really forming, whether they want to create a business and they're not sure exactly what that business is, or they want to figure out how to take what they've been doing for the past 22 years and pick it up, turn it over, and morph into the next incarnation of their career life. We can do that using their hands. And we cut a lot of time out that you might spend doing 10 or 20 different assessment tests and saying, well, that doesn't feel like me. I don't know why. It's all that middle gunk is out when we look at your hands, because you've got now a point of reference. So for a single reading, when people come to me, like I said, you've got usually a question or a focus or a general idea. I want to talk about my career. That's pretty broad. Some people say, I don't know, I'm not happy, I want to talk about my career. Other people say, I have these 5 business ideas and I want to know which one is going to work. I always say they all can work. It's just a question of which one is going to be most fun and most fulfilling for you. And are you willing to do the work? And we'll look at things. We look at their thumbs. We look at their lines. We look at the type of hand they have. Because maybe you have an idea for a business that's very intricate and very detailed, but you have a very short headline that says, I don't like to spend all that time having to go into all of this detail. And maybe you have a fiery hand that says, I like to change. I like to go from, one thing to the next to another. It's not bad. Wouldn't be me saying, oh, no, you can't do that, but it would be me helping you identify that part of yourself. And then you can ask yourself those questions. Would I really be satisfied doing this over the long haul? Right? People with very fiery hands have lots and lots and lots and lots of ideas, like all day long. They're coming up with ideas. That doesn't mean that people with earthy hands, which are much more grounded, don't have ideas. They're just less likely to kind of throw them all out there. Both can doubt themselves. Both can say, I may not be doing the right thing. I need help. And that's where we take a look at the reading in your hands. We would start in any reading with your fingerprints, your life path, your life purpose, your life lesson, as I've referred to. And that really just sets the tone, sets the framework, not just for your career, but really this is the framework of who you are, who you came to Earth to be. It was what you decided, what your soul decided. Not what I'm telling you, oh, well, you have this life purpose, so you need to sell everything and be a goat farmer. Right? If your life purpose is successful artist, and you've just spent the last 23 years of your life being a financial analyst, that doesn't mean that you have to quit and go join the Joffrey Ballet or start taking piano lessons. No, we really start to dig in to what is the energy of being a success. How can you be successful? What does it mean to be an artist, to be a creator of your life as you want to live it? How can you bring that spontaneous creativity, that successful creativity with you in your financial analysis business, if that's what you love? Maybe you love the creativity of helping people collect beautiful art or find things and helping them understand how to use these assets or nice houses or cars or what have you, right? It's not about, oh my gosh, you have to throw everything out. It's really a question of how can we feel more in alignment. So anybody have questions before I continue on? I don't want to leave anybody out. I spoke before about the gift markings on the hands. It's another thing that I look for in your handprints, or if we were together in person, I would look for them on your hands as well. There are 17 possible gift markings. It would be highly unusual. I never say never, but I have never seen anyone with all 17 gift markings. According to one of my colleagues who has studied gift markings for many, many years intensively, she says that less than, I think, 35% of the population, might be 30, has one gift marking, and that even fewer would have multiple, more than one. Now, you have 27 gift markings? Or 27% of the population, I believe, is what Chris is giving me my reference point. Yes, okay. See, numbers, not my thing. It's a good thing I'm not an astrologer, right? So less than 27% of the population has any gift markings, according to my colleague. Now, in my practice, close to 90% of my clients have one or more gift markings. Yeah, Chris says everybody that comes to her has a gift marking. Now, I have a theory about this. Chris may also have the same theory, which is when you have multiple gift markings, or even one, you've got a lot of pulls on your attention. With lots of gifts comes lots of possible challenges. And when you have that situation, life can be pretty uncomfortable. Not bad. You might think it's bad. I certainly didn't particularly dig it when I was living that space. Remember, I told you in the beginning, I thought, oh gosh, there's got to be more to life than this. Why is everything so hard? It really felt that way. And then I, come to find out I have several gift markings. And once my hand analyst pulled those apart and helped me understand, and we didn't even talk about all of them. We just talked about sort of some key ones that she homed in on, and I started to address them. And that's one of the things we would do for you. I look at them as road signs, really. If you're like, hey, wow, it's really hard to get where I want to go, or everything feels so uncomfortable, or things are so tough, we would want to look at those gifts and those road signs And once you are aware of them and you understand them and you understand what they're calling you to do and to help you to do and how that obstacle feels, for the rest of your life, when you get into that space where that discomfort starts to show up again, you could say, aha, I remember I have this gift. I'm going to step into that, right? You get to choose. It's just like the road sign came up and said detour. You know, you can go around this way. Now, you can continue going the way you were going all along without using your gift. And that's fine. Nothing bad will happen. I just like to drive home the point that there's usually an easier way. Chris also says that people who are intuitive or healers or gifted problem solvers are very attracted to having their hands read. I would agree, absolutely. And they often have those gift markings. So they're just trying to figure it out. What do I do? How do I get there? So we would look at those as your road signs, particularly if you had indicated a specific area you wanted to focus on. I'm going to just take a look on those hands, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to keep it just for me. Hey, here's some road signs I want you to be aware of, particularly in relation to this particular question you've asked. Okay? I will then look for other corroborating evidence in the hand. You know, I've been, in my 10 years of reading hands, you know, I've done huge events with hundreds of people. I've done small events, birthday parties, psychic fairs, and, you know, people say, well, you can't really get anything out of a 5-minute reading, can you? Well, that's where this ability to read and to look for this corroborating evidence, you know, comes in handy. So handy, get it? No pun intended. I'm very punny. The corroborating evidence might be that I note certain things on your fingerprints, and then we've put together that you have specific gifts or road signs in your hands. And now I'm noticing that, you know, you have a finger that leans in and tells me more of that story. And maybe we talk about that. So I look to see what is most strongly calling to me, because you really don't want to spend 5 hours in one setting talking about your hands. You might, you know, it's so fun and exciting. I've had, you know, people say, man, this is so much. I wish I could keep doing it, but I need to absorb this. You know, I have learned as an adult educator and as a reader that, you know, after about 20 minutes, you know, you're all kind of like, yeah, okay, a little bit zoning out. And even when we're talking about you, sometimes it feels that way. That's okay. So these are the pieces that we do. And when you leave that single reading, that first session, what we want you to do is I want you to be able to leave with a, you know, your own map. Says, this is where I said I wanted to go. These are the things I now know. This is the fog that's been getting in my way. And this is the way that I can, should I choose to, move that out of the way and take a step in the direction I want to go. That's the way a reading will work. I don't make predictions. I drive this point home all the time. And I say it over and over and over again. And I still, every once in a while, I'll have somebody at the end of the reading saying, I really thought you were going to tell me if I should marry my boyfriend. And it's kind of cute. And I feel badly because I know personally how that feels, to want someone else to kind of either validate or tell you no, you know, about these big life decisions. Should I buy that house? Should I get pregnant? Should I marry this guy? Should I get divorced? Because, you know, it's human nature. We say I want to have free will, but we also want somebody else to blame when it doesn't work out the way that we were hoping it would. And I don't do that. It's just not my thing. I may point out to you, hey, look, like I said at the top of the call, look, you keep doing these things, you're going to keep getting these kind of results. You want a different result, we got to do different things. That's not me predicting that, you know, this relationship's going to work or it's not going to work. It's me pointing out the obvious, you know, those blinding flashes of the obvious. What I will provide you with is very clear guidance, not only from your hands, not only from my own intuition, but from my practical experience in the real world. I specialize in careers and helping people start their business, nail down their business ideas, put step A and step B and step C together, because I had a long career in corporate America, primarily in sales and marketing, before I became a vice president of recruitment at an international corporation. So, I know a few of those things. I don't know it all. I still go to business workshops. I still hire people that are smarter than me to do business things or to learn from. But when I'm giving you guidance, it's a combination of, this is where you're hardwired. These are the things you say you want. Here's the things that are probably getting in your way. Now, you want to start building your map. Let's put those pieces in. To me, that's the easy stuff. It's the head stuff, the head and the heart and the soul stuff that we get ourselves in our own way. Okay? I will show you multiple potential paths versus one way, only one way to go. And sometimes we back ourselves into a corner and we think there's no way out. Whether it's there's no other way, every day I hear somebody say, but I can't leave this job. There is no other way. And it gives me great satisfaction and gratification when people are open to the possibility that there are actually some other paths that they hadn't explored. Am I predicting that one of those paths is the right one? No. But when we can open our minds to the fact that there may be another way to do what we've been dreaming about, that it's not just black or white, then my job is done. You can leave with clarity versus the confusion of who am I and why isn't this working? Most people that come to me, they're really kind of having a scattershot approach. I want to start this, or this guru said that, or I need to do this for my business. Oh my gosh, but I also want to work with these people, and I want to go feed the dolphins, and I need, because the world can be overwhelming, and it's moving faster and faster. And then they think, well, and then I launched my first teleclass and nobody came, so I must be a failure. I'm not meant to do this. That breaks my heart. It's really about focus, one day and after the other. It doesn't sound very sexy or very fun. But what we can do is help you hone in on the focus that's meant for you. Give you that clarity. Give you that confidence that's within you already. I'm not going to, give you anything that you don't already know. I'm going to validate it for you, and I want to work with you to move you in that direction. So that inner belief, that inner knowing, resurfaces. I don't want people that come to me for the rest of their life. I want people that know how to find their own direction. So that's really what I want people to leave a reading with. I get asked, who do you help? Does anybody have any other questions before I continue on? All righty. Who do I help? I help people who are really great at what they do, whether it's financial analysis, selling houses, Reiki, massage, anybody who's great at what they do for a living. But they want to get better. They want to earn more money, and they want to have more fun. So people that are, hey, I know I'm on the right track, but I really want to tighten this piece up, or I really want to be more effective, or I really want to help a broader audience. Those people are great. I love working for them. I also, on the other end of the spectrum, people, they may be good at what they do, but they hate it. They want a new job. They want a new career. They're not sure where to start. So they feel like they've got some golden handcuffs on. Oh, I can't leave. Those are great people to talk to. Those are wonderful people that I can help. They're motivated. They just don't know where to go. They're a little scared. I have a number of clients in their 50s, 60s, some even in their 70s, who are getting ready to retire from a job that's been, good to them and satisfying, but now that they're getting ready to retire, and they're going to have a little bit of a pension, most of them, but not necessarily enough to live on for the next, 30, 40 years. And they are setting their sights on creating a life and a career, a business or a service that will sustain them, that will make sure that they have enough money to live the kind of life that they're accustomed to, and that will allow them to do and explore the things that they've always wanted to in a way that serves. Every single one of them to a person who says, I know I'm here to do big things. I just need some guidance on how to do that. Those are great people. I love to help them. And you notice I'm using the term help because they're doing the work. I'm just simply there to guide them. And people who know they want to work for themselves, whether I don't care if they're approaching retirement or they're just, going back into the workforce, or they're just so sick of their job, they know they want to work for themselves, but they're not sure how. They're not sure when. They're not sure if their idea will work. They've got a lot of ideas. They just don't know what to do, or they think they've got a great product, but they hate the idea of sales. Those are wonderful people to work with. I know that we spend so many hours in our lifetime at work and earning money, and I know that that's important. I am certainly not one of those people who's going to tell you poo-poo money. The world will provide. That's just not my way. I'm pragmatic. I'm the pragmatic palmist, Peggie. And what that means is that you live here on the physical plane, and you chose this time and this place to be here, so part of your responsibility is to earn money and to contribute money. Now, how much money is not up to me. It's up to you to know how much that should be, but there is no reason, especially if you want to do work that's maybe a little more spiritual or service bent. It doesn't mean you have to starve. I mean, if that's, you want to live a very, ascetic lifestyle, that's terrific too. Again, it's not about me judging. It's about me helping you fulfill those dreams and desires while you can. No regrets. That's my attitude. Whoops, something just happened to my screen there. I wonder what that's about. Well, so that's who I help. Who I can help. People who want somebody else to blame, or someone else to do, tell them what to do with their life. I can't tell you what to do. I can corroborate with you. I can be your partner. I can be your consultant, but I can't tell you what to do. You want somebody to blame for the problem? It was my crazy coach or this crazy hand analyst, or she told me, I can't play that game. I don't operate that way. I'm a little tough. I'm highly motivated by keeping people accountable. I had a call with my coach yesterday and actually today. It was a big coaching week for me. And we were talking about, what do I want? I said, I want people who want to change the world, who want to be happy and healthy, but are going to be held accountable for their own happiness and their own health. So I guess I'm kind of the no excuses coach and hand analyst, in addition to being pragmatic. Maybe that's all part of the same thing. I want somebody who's committed to taking action on their own behalf. So I can't help people that want me to do everything or want somebody else to do it for them. I can't work with people who don't believe in some form of the divine. I use that term in a really broad way. I don't really care what you call the divine, but if you just think this is just it, it's black and white, we live here and then we're gone, we're not a good fit. It's just that simple. It's okay. There's no judgment on my part, but we're probably not going to get along all that well, and I'm not going to be all that useful to you. And people who spend all their time in what I call the spacey la-la land, everything is spiritual. They're all up there in the stars all the time, and when I say things like, you got to make money, they're like, oh, no, I don't. The world will provide for me. I can't, I can't help people like that. That's not been my experience. I'm not saying there aren't people who can help them, and I'm not saying that I don't have compassion. I'm just, helping you all see that those people are probably not the best fit for me, and that's okay, because, if they come to me and I'm not the right fit, I am so blessed with my community and my colleagues, and we have such different personalities and strengths and specialties, and I love to refer great people who are serious about moving forward with their lives to the right person for them. I don't really care if you come to me if I'm not the right fit, but if you know you need someone to assist you, I want you to get the assistance, the guidance, the counsel that you need for whatever part of your journey you're on. That's really my big wish. I also hear, do you read the right hand or the left hand? I read them both. I can read someone long distance. I think you see from the ink prints. Right now, my furthest away client is in Shanghai. As long as you speak English, I'm pretty, I'm good. We use a technology just like this one. We would put the prints up on the screen. We'll record the call, and we can chat and we can talk, and I can circle and cross things out and show them exactly what I'm talking about on their prints. What about rings on fingers? Rings do have specific meanings. I do recommend that when you make your prints, you take your rings off. But if I'm reading you in person, I will take note of where your rings are, and we might have a conversation about them. Can I connect with ghosts, angels, departed loved ones, animals, guides? Yes. That's not part of your reading. Sometimes it happens, but that's part of my life. But again, I like to be pretty grounded. I don't spend all my time doing that, although every once in a while, as I said, during a reading, something may occur to me, and I might say, hey, Chris, do I have your permission to share with you something that just won't stop showing up for me? And you can say yes or no. If that's not your bag, it's not your bag. In fact, if it isn't something that you would be remotely interested in, it probably would not happen. I just find that when I'm with some of these spiritual people, intuitive people, even people that maybe I've met them networking and I have no idea that that's even a part of their life, they're just here for a reading, sometimes I might say, hey, I've got this idea here or something, and did you want to hear about it? But that's not the basis of the reading. What if I don't agree with your reading? It's never happened. I've had people say, yeah, that, I'm not creative. I hear that one all the time for the people who have a life purpose of creativity, the creator, the artist. And then, that's okay. It's all right. It's not about my ego. The data doesn't lie, and I have really never had anybody say, I want my money back, that's not who I am. I suppose if you sent me somebody else's handprints as a joke, you might find out that nothing resonated with you, but it might make a lot of sense about the person whose hands you sent me. Sometimes we resist hearing our deepest truth, and I'm happy and available to go there with you. And what do I do with your prints after the reading? Well, with your permission, I take your name off of the top because you'll write them on your prints. And then I would scan them and use them, again, with your permission for educational purposes or teaching purposes, and store them in my files within my home office. But I've had clients, I live in Washington, D.C. People are very safety and security conscious. I've had clients say, well, after we're done, I want you to shred them and mail them back to me, and I'm happy to do that too. It's your choice, the way that it works. So those are some of the other questions that I hear a lot. Before we wrap up, I just want to be open to any questions that you want to know that I have not answered for you. I know we're just at time here. Okay. And you can send me questions. That's my email address right there at the top. It's my name, Peggie at PeggieArvidson.com. I would love you to go to the website and sign up for the e-zine if you haven't already. I'd be honored to have you as part of the tribe. I do free monthly webinars on specific topics. This year we've been talking about some of those 17 gift markings. We're not going to get through all of them. Obviously, 12 months in a year, 17 gift markings is not going to work, but I'd love to have you join one of those calls. I do classes and workshops. I teach people, the level 1 and level 2 intensive on how to read hands. As I said, I do career workshops and I do intuition workshops. So you'll learn about those things primarily through the newsletter. And if you're not already, come and play with us on Facebook. My business page is Peggy the Palmist Coach. And I would love to have you there. I'm delighted that you all came tonight. I don't want to keep you any longer. I'm sure you have beautiful, wonderful things to do this evening. Thank you for your time. Don't hesitate to send me questions or ideas, other things you'd like to learn about. I'd love to share this information, and I'm delighted that I got to share it with you tonight. Thank you all for coming. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.